and welcome to another interesting episode of Progress Diary. Here, we tell you all that the National Working Committee is doing under the leadership of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. I am Habida Lawal. A former member of the House of Representatives who recently defected from the PDP to the APC says his decision is part of a desire to join hands with the government in building the country. Nicholas Osai explained that the defections of critical stakeholders in Delta State PDP is already an indication that the APC is stronger and ready to deliver the dividends of democracy.
We have a leader that has always been my role model in the position of the president. The president, when he came back to Nigeria and went to Senate and performed exceedingly very well. Some of us have been following him as our role model. And today he's the president. And he has initiated very strategic economic measures, to cure a lot of things that has happened in this country. You could see that the economy is improving. You could see that we're going in the right direction. There's no gap in issues again. So I feel as of this time, I have to join him to make sure Nigerians receive the best. And that's the only thing we can use to help him strengthen his base. We're talking about how economy will continue to improve. But in 2027, APC will take over Delta State.
Are you contesting?
Be rest assured that APC will take over Delta State.
Are you contesting?
I'm not contesting for governorship, but I'm going to support those of them who are going to support, who are going to come out. And you will see the best eggheads coming out in APC. And I'm aware that with the structure we are building in APC today, APC will take over the government house of Delta State. And not only that, APC will retain the senatorial zone as they have today. We have the 3 senators and we're going to retain it. We have also going to initiate to remove all other PDP in House of Rep and put in all these federal constituencies, the 10 federal constituencies to be APC complete. In the House of Assembly, we're going to take the 29 seats in the House of Assembly. And come the council, in the next council election, because APC will be in government as of that time, the next council election, the 25 local government APC will take over. So APC take over, APC take over, APC take over Delta State. That is the slogan now.
The All Progressives Congress and the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China have joined forces to tackle poverty in Nigeria by investing in youth empowerment through basic training and entrepreneurship development. At a meeting in Abuja, the national chairman of the APC, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, and the ambassador of the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Yu Dunhai, agreed that the two parties can team up to enhance youth development and empowerment in Nigeria and China. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress has adopted indirect mode of election for the party's April 5, 2025 governorship primary election in Anambra State. Decision to this effect was reached after a meeting of the party's highest administrative organ in Abuja. National Secretary of the party, Ajibola Bashiru, disclosed this after the meeting at the party's national secretariat. He assured that the party leadership would provide a level playing field for the 7 aspirants jostling for the party's ticket. The All Progressives Support Group in Benue State has called on President Bola Tinubu and the national leadership of the party to immediately address the political crisis in the state. The group, in a press briefing, recalled that the National Working Committee of APC had earlier dissolved the Benue State executives and constituted a caretaker committee in February 2024, by the powers given to them by the National Executive Committee of the party. But the dissolved ESCO challenged this in court and went ahead to forward list of candidates to the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission, challenging the leadership of the party. Barrister Emmanuel Jime, a former governorship candidate of the APC in Benue State, joined us to discuss Benue State politics. What do you make of the conflict between the judiciary and the legislature in Benue State?
Well, thank you so much. So first, let's understand clearly that you really are not able to treat the issues that are going on in Benue State at this time in isolation. There's a way in which they are interconnected. By that I mean you have to recognize very early on that there is a political dynamic to what is going on. Then when you come from that perspective, you can then begin to throw light really on some of the moving parts, that have come together in what then is now blossoming into a crisis situation. The Benue State House of Assembly, exercising their mandate as provided for by the Nigerian Constitution, and apparently on an address by His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, haven't achieved the constitutionally required quorum, the constitutionally required numbers, was the 2/3 of the membership, decided to, put together, some recommendations of the House. I had the fortune and I was privileged to have seen the orders and the resolutions of the House once they were made. And they were in two parts. One was the recommendation to the Benue State Governor to move for the removal of the Chief Judge of Benue State. In this particular case, reference being made to the Chief Judge as the head, the administrative head of the Benue State Judiciary. The misunderstanding that is in the public space as to whether what the Benue State House of Assembly did and the actions of the governor constituted entirely the removal of the Chief Judge as a judicial officer, which would have meant that he will not only be removed as the head of court, but he will also be taken out as a judicial officer. And I think for us, we need to be clear in understanding that there is a dichotomy, which I think people have not been availed with sufficient enough information to understand. So like I said, this, in my understanding, and I stand corrected, is pretty much what transpired as far as that particular matter, was concerned. But like I said earlier, we also have to understand there's a political dynamic. And if you permit me, I would just like to delve very quickly into that, because we need to throw light, in the public space so people can get a clarity really of what is going on in Benue State. Now, Benue State has been held by the neck under the stranglehold of one man. One man who has been governor, who also has been fortunate to put in place about 3 of his successors. Now, it has to be curious, and people need to really ask this question. In every single case where he has placed a successor in office, it doesn't take too long before there's a fight that ensues between him and his successors in 3 cases. Now, for me, that speaks, if you don't mind my saying this, to the challenge of our democracy, where we have this problem of godfathers, and godsons. This is the bane of our democracy till now. We've got a situation where people who parade themselves as godfathers believe that only their interest, instead of the interest of the common good, should be served. Once you get into office as a godson, and you begin to appreciate that your duty and your responsibility is to the electorate, there is likely going to be a conflict that will have emerged immediately. And that, to me, is the bane, as I said, of our democracy. It's happening everywhere. So Benue is not an isolation. It doesn't stand as an isolated case. But like I said, it is symptomatic of the problem that we're having in our democracy. So the Benue situation, therefore, needs to be located properly where it should be, which is that it is the fight between the godson and the godfather that ultimately has led to this particular situation that we are in at the moment. And for those of us who believe that we love our state, and I would like to go further to say that any decent human being who wants to see the development of our state, and indeed the development of our country, must frown at this particular incidence of one person deciding that his own interest should overshadow the interest of the common good. And that, in my humble opinion, is precisely what has led us to the crisis situation that we're having in Benue at this point in time.
Do you think the controversy over the removal of the state chief judge will impact governance in Benue State?
Of course, the system of governance that we have in place under our democracy, the constitutional structures that we have, envisages that we should have 3 arms of government. The intention, of course, of the Constitution and of the makers of the Constitution was that these 3 arms of government should be working in harmony, in a way that they're then able to advance, the common good as far as the delivery of the dividends of democracy is concerned. So clearly, where there is a dislocation, such as what we have now, it then means that all the arms of government are not working in harmony as expected. There's no rocket science, so that we can now begin to approach this particular challenge that we have as a people with an understanding that unless and until we get all of us working together and pulling in one direction, we are then not able, to achieve the sort of progress that we're all looking to be able to achieve.
Will it be proper for the NJC to interfere in the removal of the Benue Chief Judge, even when the State Assembly is empowered by the Constitution to check the alleged abuse of power by the Chief Judge?
Again, if you listen to my earlier intro, and that's the point I was making exactly, that there are 2 categorical provisions of the Constitution. Look, make no mistake about it, there is also pronouncements of the courts of law. And as a lawyer, I recognize that once there is an interpretation that comes, especially from the highest court of the land, that of course almost automatically becomes, the law. Now, I'm not aware, as I sit in this conversation, that the Supreme Court really has had the opportunity of being addressed on these questions of the dichotomy that exist in the provisions of the Constitution insofar as the matter relating to the removal of the head of court instead of a judicial officer is concerned. So I would think that the moment has come. This is an opportunity either from the constitution-making arm or indeed the judicial arm of government to have an opportunity where a pronouncement, a declaration can be made once and for all, so that we are all pulling in a way that, is consistent with what, the Constitution has provided for us. So I don't want to go as far as condemning the NJC. There are very enlightened members of the adjudicature who populate the NJC. You have Supreme Court justices and you have other very enlightened men and women of our legal profession. And so I believe that once they are confronted with the clear facts and the opportunity has been given so that, this matter is tackled on its merit, And by the way, in further answer to this point you just raised now, there is, I think, a reason why the governor of Benue State actually sent the petition in line with the second prayer of the House of Assembly for the removal of the chief judge as a judicial officer, so that the NJC will look at it, interrogate that process. And so that process is still ongoing, by the way. Let's be clear in our minds about that. It's only when and if the NJC has looked at that petition, and I believe from the information available to me that soon a committee will be in place that will invite all, all the actors, so that we can have some closure on that matter in a way that justice, will be seen to have been done.
What do you make of the face-off between Governor Alia and a founding member of the party in the state?
Oh, well, first let me tell you, I'm also a founding member of the APC. I joined the APC in 2014, actually 2013, when most of us who then were actually members of the PDP were moving into, the APC. So I am able to, claim, membership of the APC at that level. Therefore, if you're talking about founding fathers, I believe some of us ought to be included in that number. And you can see, I'm not one of those who thinks that the governor should be distracted in the manner that he's conducting the affairs of the state. Those who have decided to constitute themselves into, permit my use of the word, a nuisance, and a distraction as far as the governance of Benue State is concerned, they understand and know themselves for who they really are. And with all due respect, I consider anyone who is distracting this governor as an enemy of the state. And I say that without any fear of contradiction. Why I'm able to say this is the history of governance in our state is pretty much on our fingertips. Everybody recognizes that except for the 4 years of the first civilian governor of Benue State, late Governor Apereku of blessed memory, and of course the less than 2 years of, again, another Reverend Father, Moses Oshia Adasu of blessed memory, who stand out clearly as people who were public-spirited, that came in with a mindset to develop Benue State and take it to the pedestal where all of us wish for our state to get to. There's no one else really that can compare with those other two gentlemen I referred to, except this current governor. So if you have a governor who has come in and is doing so well, for God's sake, all we needed, and particularly is even worse, to hear that a man who was elected on a particular party platform is being distracted by members of his own APC. If opposition parties decided, to constitute themselves into a problem, we could look at it from that perspective and say, well, this is opposition at work. But here is a situation where members of the same political party, who then have decided that because the governor is not answering to their own personal needs, all right, and I say that with emphasis, their personal needs, as against, the entire requirement of delivering the state. Now that to me is it's something that nobody should be comfortable with. So I can venture and say this authoritatively, that the rest of us who are now derisively called masses, and are very, very comfortable in that, because if we have the masses of business to support a governor, I will take that every day and any day. As opposed to a few individuals who constitute themselves into this kind of distraction that we're having, and particularly, again, led by the same fellow I refer to as being, the greatest cancer that has afflicted our state that needs to be removed.
Finally, do you think this whole thing will affect the APC chances in 2027, especially in Benue State?
Well, when you engage in this sort of fight, which really has no basis, on the issues of development, in a proper democracy, there's punishment really awaiting at the polls. So your question is an important question. It's one that all of us who are members of the APC need to ruminate and think about deeply. For now, though, the comfort that I have is that on the basis of the work that the governor has put in and the shift that he's putting in the state, he literally is the main reason why the APC remains very valid, very active, very present. I want to go back a bit, by the way, to suggest to you, and I know, again, people may want to contest this, but without Governor Alia at the head of the APC ticket in 2023, there is no way on earth, and I say this without any fear of contradiction, there is no way on earth the APC was going to win Benue State in 2023. The results are there for everybody to see. So we all know that having Alia, focused and allowing him to deliver governance is the best available opportunity for the APC to continue to do well in Benue State. So let's not take the will of the people for granted. Let's not just assume that you can do anything, any which ways, and that the people will just sit in there as if they don't have a mind of their own. I would rather be cautious in suggesting that the sooner we realize that the work ahead of us in 2027, it's an important assignment. By the way, no re-election has ever been easy, even in the best of democracies. So when you are facing a re-election, you are better advised to pull all your acts, together, so that you can now put your best foot forward. I mean, that is the best way that you can achieve success at the polls. So it's very, very important, that question you asked, but I maintain that at this present time, regardless of all of the distraction and the challenge that has been posed, the governor has acquitted himself well in office, and that to me is credit enough to him as an individual, which then means that, like he did in 2023, he still has an opportunity to carry the APC on his shoulders. And I believe all of us working together and supporting the governor, the APC is still the party to beat as far as Benue State is concerned.
And that is our program this week. Thank you for being a part of it. You can follow this program to get the latest news and updates on the activities of the All Progressives Congress under the leadership of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Thank you for watching. I am Abida Lawal. See you next week.